In this video, I'm going to talk you through some of the skills that you need in Excel to be able to do well in your IA or anything else that needs you to show data. So first of all, we're going to tidy up this table and make it look nice and fit the requirements. Up here, what you can see is that zone of inhibition actually applies across all 5 columns. So what you can do is you select all 5 columns and click the Merge and Center button here, and that will then merge them. Here you can see that the antibacterial doesn't all fit into the head of the column, and so if you put your cursor in between columns A and B and double click, then it will open it up and it will all be the same width. Finally, in terms of tidying up, you can see that all of these do not have the same number of decimal places, which is a key requirement for any table. So what you do is you select all of the numbers and then you go to these 2 buttons here to either increase or decrease the number of decimals. Initially there I've decreased it, which isn't appropriate because that doesn't reflect the degree of accuracy. So now I've increased it, and so everything is to 1 decimal place, which reflects the degree of accuracy. In the zone of inhibition bar here, you should have the units. Now we will assume that the units was in millimeters. When you then export this table into Word, you would add the uncertainty. It's very difficult to add the uncertainty in Excel. It's very easy to add it in Word. So then the next thing that you would want to do is to add an average zone of inhibition column and also a standard deviation column. So we'll just type those into the bars at the top, and then we will calculate them. So to do the average, it is a formula, and here is your formula bar. Now, because I've done this recently, average is at the top, but it is normally in that section. So you click on that, and then you simply highlight the cells that you want to create the average of and press return. What you then want to do is you want to fill that into all of these cells. Now what you could do is type the formula in every time, but if you've got 20 data points, that's going to get very boring very fast. So instead, click on this and then hold this little tiny green square and pull it down. Now be warned, on a Mac, often what comes up is in this area around here, you'll have a window which says Formula Builder. If that does come up, you need to delete that, just close it down before the fill will work. To do standard deviation, it's exactly the same idea. It's equals STDEV, that's the standard deviation. So you click on it and then once again simply highlight the cells that you wish to include and hit return. And then you want to drag this down, remembering again, if the Formula Builder bar comes up, you remove it. Now you can see straight away that this is not to the same number of decimal places, so we're just going to remove it to make it reasonable, and 3 seems sensible. You'll notice that I have left my averages at the same degree of accuracy as my raw data, and that is what you should be doing. If, for example, you were counting something, you wouldn't be able to have 0.2 of a limpet, and so your average should reflect the degree of accuracy of your measurements. The last thing we will do to make it tidy is rule it up. So you select the entire table, and then you come to this border here, and you click all borders, and now your table is neat and tidy and ready to export to Excel. The other thing that you are going to want to do in Excel is you're going to want to draw a graph. So the first thing that you need to decide on is the type of graph, and you do that by looking at the independent variable. Now in this case, my independent variable is discrete or categoric, and therefore the type of graph that I need to draw is a bar graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my 5 versions of my independent variable. Then I'm going to hit my control button on a Windows computer or the command button on a Mac, and then I'm going to select the average. Hitting the control or command button in between the 2 allows you to select 2 columns that aren't next to each other. Then I'm going to go to Insert and chart, and this is the chart type I want. I want a type of bar chart. I just want a regular 2D column chart. And there you go, straight away my chart has come up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this down a little bit, and I'm going to do some editing to my graph. So first of all, I need to change my title, and so you just double click on chart title, and your chart title should be in the format of a graph to show how my independent variable affects my dependent variable. So a graph to show how different substances affect the zone of inhibition. In reality, of course, you would go on to then talk about the species of bacteria in here. We also need to include axes titles. So we go to add chart element and axis title primary horizontal. So that is type of antibacterial, and then you're going to go to add chart element, axis title, primary vertical, and average zone of inhibition, and you must include your units. Okay, you will need to sort out the formatting so that you have it looking sensible, and this is in a sensible place, but you can fiddle with that fairly easily. The final thing that you're going to want to do, I don't know what I've done there, I don't really want the numbers on it, I chose a stupid type. You don't need to have the numbers at the top of the bar, you can read those off the axis. The final thing that you're going to want to do is to put your standard deviation error bars on. And so to do that, I would recommend moving your graph so it's nowhere near your table. Then you click into the graph, go to design, add chart element, come to error bars, go to more error bars options, then you come down here and you go to custom, and then you go to specify value. I know you can't see the whole of that button, but it says specify value. And then you can see here you've got the opportunity to put in your positive error value. What you do there is you just select the standard deviations, then you go into negative error value, delete what's there, select the standard deviations again, and then click OK. If you now come back to your graph, you will see that you have got nice standard deviation error bars drawn on your graph. If you have horizontal ones at that time, you just click on them and delete them. Now your table and your graph are both ready to export into Word and be part of your write-up.